Today, I want to talk about Shadeur Sanders and the possibility of him becoming a Raider in the upcoming offseason. I know the regular season isn't over yet, and it might feel a bit early to discuss, but the NFL draft buzz is already picking up. And one name that's been making a lot of noise is Shadeur Sanders. Shadeur is the starting quarterback for the University of Colorado, and he's the son of NFL legend and current college football icon, Deion Sanders. On the field, Shadeur has been turning heads with his poise, strong arm, and ability to perform under pressure. Through 9 games this season, he's completed 250 out of 343 passes, which is an impressive 72.9% completion rate. He's thrown for 2,882 yards, averaging 8.4 yards per attempt, with 24 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions. His efficiency has earned him a solid passer rating. While his rushing stats aren't as eye-catching, he's still managed to score 4 rushing touchdowns. The main reason for his limited rushing numbers is the struggles of Colorado's offensive line, which has led to negative rushing yards due to sacks. But beyond his stats, there's more to Shadeur Sanders that makes him an intriguing draft prospect. One of the big questions surrounding him is whether drafting Shadeur would come with an unexpected bonus, his father, Deion Sanders. If that happens, it could have a significant impact on a team, especially one like the Raiders, who are facing an uncertain coaching future. With their 2-7 record, the Raiders are in need of a quarterback, and the connection to Shadeur Sanders might be too good to pass up. There's no doubt the Raiders could really benefit from adding a young, talented quarterback like Shadeur Sanders. With their season struggling so far and a high draft pick looking likely, the Raiders are heading toward a potential quarterback change. But that brings up a big question. Would selecting a high-profile player like Shadeur breathe new life into the Raiders franchise, or could it become a distraction? A big part of the conversation around Shadeur is the presence of his father, Deion Sanders. As the son of prime time, Shadeur has always been in the spotlight. But Deion is more than just a sports icon. He's a larger-than-life personality who has dominated headlines since becoming the head coach at the University of Colorado. Anything he says or does seems to make the news, and it's clear that he's not someone who stays quiet, especially when it comes to his son's future. Deion has already made it known that he plans to help guide Shadeur to the right NFL situation. Some even speculate that Shadeur could pull an Eli Manning move if he's drafted by a team he and his father aren't comfortable with, forcing a trade to a more preferred destination. The good news, however, is that it seems Shadeur Sanders would be open to joining the Las Vegas Raiders. In fact, it might even be one of his top choices. While I'm a fan of Shadeur as a player, it's important to recognize that drafting him would bring a lot of media attention, and that could be both a blessing and a curse. It could help raise the profile of the Raiders, but it could also create some unwanted distractions. One of the most interesting things to consider is the potential package deal with Shadeur Sanders. There have been some reports floating around suggesting that if Deion Sanders is given the opportunity, he might leave Colorado to become an NFL head coach. If that happens, it seems likely that he would go after his son to be the franchise quarterback for his team. Now, let's be clear, this is all just speculation. It's still unlikely that Deion would leave his post at Colorado anytime soon, especially since he's under contract. But even if Deion doesn't end up coaching in the NFL, there's still a chance that he could have some involvement with whichever team drafts Shadeur. Whether it's directly or indirectly, it seems like Deion will be a part of the picture in some way. This idea has sparked a lot of debate. Some people love the thought of Deion being an unofficial mentor for his son, helping him adjust to life in the NFL, and lending his Hall of Fame experience to the Raiders organization. Deion's football knowledge is unquestionable, and his larger-than-life personality could bring a new energy to the team. But let's not forget, this also adds a layer of complexity for any head coach, whether it's Antonio Pierce or whoever else might be in charge next season. The last thing you want is for Deion to become a distraction or start to feel like he's stepping on the coach's toes. And if Shadeur doesn't perform well early on, you can bet the media will be buzzing about whether the Raiders should fire the coach and bring in Deion Sanders as head coach instead. So, while the idea of a package deal with Shadeur and Deion is intriguing, it could create some tricky situations down the road. This is definitely something the Raiders will need to consider carefully if they plan to draft a quarterback this offseason, and if they target someone like Shadeur Sanders. If the Raiders are the team to select him, Antonio Pierce, or whoever takes over as head coach, will face the challenge of managing a complicated situation. Having an NFL legend like Deion Sanders involved, even loosely, could be both exciting and challenging. His strong personality and high profile would certainly bring attention, but it could also create pressure, especially for a franchise that's no stranger to drama. One thing you can always count on with the Raiders is that there's never a dull moment. This team always seems to have something going on, often not the kind of headlines we want to see. The constant drama and off field distractions sometimes overshadow what happens on the field and can make it harder for the team to focus on winning. So, could the involvement of Deion Sanders add too much pressure on Shadeur, the coaching staff, and the team in general? It would be Shadeur's first experience on a team without his father as head coach, which could be a big adjustment. On the other hand, could Deion bring valuable insight to the Raiders' quarterback room and help guide the team in a positive direction? Ultimately, that's the big question the Raiders will need to evaluate this offseason. Would bringing in Shadeur Sanders, along with the potential circus of media attention that comes with it, be a distraction for the team? It's hard to imagine that Deion Sanders would just fade into the background once his son enters the NFL. The Raiders' history is full of proud moments, but it's also been controversial at times. Adding a figure like Deion to the mix could bring both benefits and challenges. Having someone like Deion Sanders involved in Shadeur's development could bring a level of scrutiny that either makes or breaks both the young quarterback and the team. The pressure would be immense, but one thing is clear: Deion does have respect for Antonio Pierce. He said before that he believes Pierce has earned the head coaching job with the Raiders, and he respects him as a person. So, I do think there would be a healthy, mutual respect between Deion and Antonio Pierce if Shadeur is drafted by the Raiders. However, that doesn't mean it would be smooth sailing. If things aren't going well, or if Antonio Pierce makes decisions that Deion doesn't agree with, it's hard to imagine Deion holding back. Deion Sanders is not the type to stay quiet if he feels something is wrong. That's where the potential distractions could come into play down the road if Shadeur becomes the quarterback of the future. Overall, it's a tricky situation to navigate. I know it's still early, but this quarterback class is pretty top-heavy right now. I like both Cam Ward and Shadeur Sanders as prospects, but after them, there's a noticeable drop-off. As of now, it seems like Cam Ward might be the first quarterback off the board. But if I had to bet, I'd lean toward the Raiders, going after Shadeur Sanders over Ward. Another factor to consider is Tom Brady's involvement with the Raiders organization. Brady has already worked with Shadeur Sanders in a training capacity, so he knows him at least a little bit on a personal level. Brady has seen Shadeur's character up close, and that could play a significant role in the Raiders' decision-making this offseason. I think Tom Brady is going to have some major decisions to make, especially when it comes to football operations. One of the most interesting choices the Raiders could face this offseason is whether or not to go after Shadeur Sanders. It's going to be a big call, and ultimately, it's up to the Raiders front office to decide. I really like Shadeur's game. He's a pass-first, pocket-style quarterback, and to me, he looks more polished and ready to make an impact next season compared to a guy like Cam Ward. But here's the thing: Shadeur's success might be closely tied to his father, Deion Sanders. If they both end up in Las Vegas, it could bring more to the franchise than just a quarterback change. It could bring a lot of extra attention and, of course, a little bit of extra pressure. The big question is whether Deion's presence would be a distraction or a source of motivation for the team. It all depends on how the organization handles it. We don't know yet how it will all shake out, what position the Raiders will be in during the draft, or how the season will end. But it's definitely an exciting topic to think about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think Shadeur Sanders would be a good fit for the Raiders? Or do you worry it could be more of a distraction than a boost? Let me know what you think in the comments below.